one of the candidates has practically dropped out of the race. Now, the fight for the driver's title is a fratricidal battle between two men dressed in orange. Welcome to the 12th round of the Formula One World Championship, the British Grand Prix. The events in Austria have nearly eliminated the reigning world champion from contention, requiring a miracle to rejoin the fight. Now the direct battle will commence in the orange team's home. From a dream where only the men of McLaren seem to have the chance to win that first title, which is the dream of anyone and the reality of only a few. The head-to-head will continue at the legendary Silverstone circuit in England, Formula One's home. 75 years later, with its impressive curves, it remains one of the wildest challenges in the category. McLaren will want to win at home, with Norris racing in front of his fans and Piastri eager to make an impact. The time has come where ambitions and dreams cross paths, and this year we'll have a new champion. But we still have to see if it will be an Australian or a Brit. Let's begin the preview of the 2025 British Grand Prix of Formula One. Another 0-point haul from the current world champion has left his title chances on life support. As the season nears its midpoint, this duel appears to be a direct contest between the McLaren drivers. With the season's halfway point approaching, we can only hope that from now on, each battle will be more intense, gradually bringing us closer to the conclusion of this story. But now, for this weekend, the drivers will have to face the circuit that has been in Formula One since 1950. The British beast of Silverstone, which is one of the most impressive circuits on the current Formula One calendar. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get to know the venue that will bring this new round of the World Championship to life. Through its key sectors and official data, Northamptonshire, England. Its track is the Silverstone circuit, a former World War II airfield built in 1947, now a permanent circuit. And it is the home of the British Grand Prix. 5.8 kilometers of track, 52 laps, 18 corners, 2 drag reduction system activation zones, and 2 potential areas for any overtaking maneuver. Characterized by being a ridiculously fast circuit with monstrous and very high-speed corners. The first sector is a very technical combination, featuring some of the few slow corners on this circuit and a long straight. It begins with a mix of slow and fast corners, where aspects like the brakes and grip are put to the test when tackling these turns. Getting good traction out of turn 4, the loop is crucial as it leads directly into the Wellington Straight, a drag reduction system activation zone. The device extends along this straight up to the braking zone at turn 6. Despite its short length, it's a crucial area for executing any overtaking maneuver. So knowing how to chase your rivals in this particular part of the circuit is extremely important if you want to capture a position during the race. The extremely fast speed persists in the second sector. It has 9 turns, boasting some of the most challenging and fastest corners in the entire top category racing calendar. It starts with the slow turns of Leofield and Woodcote, but from there the speed increases and hardly drops at any point. Paying special attention to the Cobb's corners, the brutal high-speed right-hander, and the beautiful Maggots Beckett and Chappelle. Shaped high-speed corners that test the car's grip and aerodynamic stability in quite complex, fast, and of course difficult turns. These corners demand precise driving and fierce grip from the car. This section pushes the car and punishes the tires more harshly than any other part of the circuit. These are extremely challenging corners, but without a doubt, they're a spectacular challenge worthy of a world-class circuit like Silverstone. And for the third sector, there are only 4 corners, but in the same way, this journey ends as it begins, at very high speed. After exiting Chapel Corner, the drivers enter the third sector on the Hangar Straight, which is the second and final drag reduction system activation zone on this track. If the driver is close enough to the rival at the end of the second sector, an overtaking move can be attempted on this straight, the second best place to do so on the track. At the end of this straight is the fast slow corner, where the drivers try to exit with as much speed as possible. But they must avoid exceeding track limits to prevent penalties. It's a corner that requires a hard braking entry, but it's extremely fast. And to finish this journey, we have the slow corner sector of Klopp, where braking and traction are prioritized to bring an end to the monstrously frenetic journey of this beautiful track. Silverstone is an old-school circuit, but it's completely loaded with steroids since it has monstrous turns and insane speeds, and all of it on a layout that breeds history, magic, and complete spectacularity. And in summary, in the first sector, the most important elements are the brakes and traction. In the second, the car's grip in high-speed corners, and in the third, good speed capability that the single-seater can deploy. As other data to take into account, this circuit is one of those with the highest probability of a safety car appearing during a race. Yes, it has very wide runoff areas, but the high speed of the corners means that going off track usually ends in violent crashes. Since the safety car's invention in 1993, it has been deployed 28 times at this circuit. But the probability of a safety car appearing during the race is as high as 89%. Since it's a fast track, there's no particular spot that stands out as especially dangerous. You can lose the car at Copse, Maggots and Beckett's, or at the Brooklands or Stowe corners. They could cause the car to get stuck in the gravel trap or end up hitting the wall, and with that, trigger the deployment of a safety car. This circuit has very few slow corners that require heavy braking, so the brakes aren't punished as much. However, traction is a bit more stressed on every lap of this circuit, making it an extremely important factor in the setups. And the cars for this track usually run with medium-high downforce setups to handle all the fast corners that Silverstone has. But they also need to maintain enough speed to avoid losing pace on the long straight sections. And this circuit has two zones where you can try any overtaking maneuver. The first is the combination of the Wellington straight with the braking into turn 6. To overtake, the chasing driver needs to exit the slow corners very close and be able to follow the rival all along this straight. Brooklands corner allows you to attack from the inside or outside if you position the car correctly. And because of the length of the straight, most of the maneuvers are finished in the braking zone. So it's very important to have your reference points clear when you're in a battle and to know how to enter this corner properly to hit the apex better. The second zone is on the hangar straight, and the way to overtake is basically the same. Get a good exit and better traction than your rival coming out of the corners. High speed S and chase your rival down the entire straight to try to capture the next corner. The straight's length allows you to complete maneuvers before braking. But if that's not possible, you can overtake again. Whether on the inside or outside of the corner, always prioritize an aggressive entry and good car positioning in these turns. Because if you try it on the outside, the move might work out for you and pretty well, but you also run the risk of being pushed out and not being able to complete the overtake. So, on a scale from 1 to 5, the difficulty of overtaking on this track is a 3. It's complicated, yes, and the moves that happen on this track are usually absolutely spectacular. In the Silverstone pit lane, you drive at 80 km per hour, making it a fast transit area. The entrance cuts off only the final corners of the circuit, but the pit lane is extremely long. And a stop including a tire change can be completed in about 29 seconds, and tire wear on this circuit is extremely high. Actually, the asphalt itself isn't that abrasive, but the lateral loads the tires are subjected to and the stress they endure end up causing wear. The tires are pushed to an aggressive limit. This year, Pirelli has chosen to bring bolder tires to the Grand Prix, and they will provide a softer range than what we saw last year, making it possible for us to see 2 pit stop strategies. And the tires available for this race will be the C2, C3 and C4, which represent the intermediate range from the Italian manufacturer. Silverstone is a unique circuit. The British have a masterpiece of a track which is well known for the challenge it poses to both drivers and cars. This track is for courageous and speedy drivers who can push every limit, and where those who know how to make their car dance through these beautiful corners will be rewarded with the best results on Sunday. You know, June was filled with various sports events, including tennis, Formula Racing, the 24 Hours of Le Mans Club World Cup, and the NBA. Anyway, a huge number of sports that really put your ability to the test to keep up with all these events, but also your wallet. Often, you need to subscribe to various streaming services to follow these events. You may find yourself paying for multiple platforms before you even realize it. But is there a way to save some money and enjoy different sports without breaking the bank? Both through a VPN tool provided by our friends at Zulshark. And look, the VPN is a virtual private network that, among many functions like blocking annoying ads, cybersecurity, and protecting your browsing. Its most popular function is the one that lets you change your internet protocol to virtually place yourself anywhere in the world. For example, Disney Plus in Mexico offers tennis, NBA, and IndyCar, but not Formula One. However, in Argentina, the top category is indeed shown on this platform. If you use Surfshark, you can change your internet protocol to make your device think you're in Argentina, and with that, it will be unlocked for you. You can watch Formula One directly on Disney Plus, avoiding the need for an additional subscription on another platform. And is the same with many other events that are sometimes broadcast on YouTube, Netflix, or Amazon, but aren't available in your country. In addition, this Internet Protocol Changer feature helps you unlock movies or series that are regionally blocked in your country. With this, it gives you enormous browsing potential with just one simple tool. But look, so you can try it out for yourself. If you go to surfshark.com/skyline and use my code SKYLINE, you'll get up to 4 extra months when you sign up for the service. So you can try it on an unlimited number of devices. Try it for 30 days, and if you're not convinced or you don't like it, you have a full money-back guarantee. So I recommend that you don't let this opportunity pass you by and take advantage of the benefits of having a VPN with the help of our friends at Surfshark. McLaren appears ubiquitous this season. Here, on their hunting ground, they have more victories than anywhere else on the calendar. And their drivers will start fighting harder and harder in search of a title that, it seems, is only within reach of the drivers in orange. Also, many of the latest updates to these ground effect era cars will be seen here at Silverstone. And for many, probably the car they bring to this track will be the one they finish the season with. With all this, ladies and gentlemen, all that's left is to analyze the teams and drivers one by one for this event. In the Temple of Silverstone, the reigning World Constructors Champions reaffirmed their supremacy and cleared up any doubts with a crushing result at Red Bull's hunting ground. But most importantly, it has been confirmed that Norris and Piastri are free to battle. And it seems that the team won't intervene with any team orders. They're only asking that the fight be a clean battle with no contact between both drivers. This weekend, they reach McLaren's favorite track, the round they most want to win all season, and where they haven't achieved a victory since 2008. So for McLaren, the priority of winning here is much higher than anywhere else on the calendar. And with Silverstone being such a high degradation circuit, along with the debut of the new tires, C, 12, 13, 4 for this race and their usual strength, they are still the favorites to take the victory at the end of this race on Sunday. On the other hand, Norris is coming off a win in Austria and is motivated to go for victory in front of his home crowd. Meanwhile, Piastri will look to strike his rival at home and extend his lead in the championship. McLaren is the favorite to win at Silverstone this weekend. They are going out to pursue that long-awaited and most special victory that has eluded them for many years. And there are also some rumors that they will bring some upgrades to complement the ones we saw in Austria, considering the pace they have. And if those upgrades work, it's pretty scary to think about how they might perform on this circuit. So McLaren is completely fired up, and they have everything going for them to be heroes on their home turf. Ferrer reclaimed second in the constructors' standings after a strong Austrian race, with their drivers finishing third and fourth. But the result is quite misleading at first glance, not because the car's pace was bad, but because it's hard to evaluate their situation. Taking into account that Mercedes had problems and Verstappen's Red Bull couldn't even race in the Grand Prix, they brought an update to the car's floor and it seems to have worked, but they're still quite far from McLaren. Some journalists report that the redesigned suspension won't be ready for the British Grand Prix, but instead for Spa-Francorchamps. So for Silverstone, they can only rely on the small improvements they've made. But it looks pretty difficult for them to repeat the result from Austria if Mercedes and Red Bull manage to be in better shape for this race. And it seems that the only way to turn around the difficult season they're having is with that upgrade package. Because weekend after weekend, the only thing that helps them get good results from time to time is when the other teams fail. And they manage to have a proper execution of the Grand Prix. But to stay in that second position, it seems like this won't be enough. Mercedes had a tough test in Austria after the great result in Canada, and it seems they failed, showing that it's not just high temperatures that affect their car. Yes, it's true, they suffered a lot because of the high temperatures at the Austria circuit, but they're still struggling with overheating in the tires. And the W16 doesn't work well on rough and abrasive asphalt, which, combined with the high temperatures, gave Mercedes a terrible weekend, not to mention the crash Antonelli had with Max Verstappen. In the end, despite what Simone Resta said, they didn't bring any performance upgrades to the car, only specific updates for the Austrian circuit. So maybe we'll see those new parts starting at Silverstone. And considering that the track's asphalt is more favorable for the W16, along with the low temperatures that are expected, we might see the Germans in much better shape at this circuit. But with how volatile this car's performance is, expect anything, both good and bad. And also remember that as a result of the accident with Verstappen, Antonelli will receive a 3-place grid penalty as a sanction for the race in Great Britain. We said a few races back that despite what occurred in Spain, the championship wasn't over for Verstappen, but it would be extremely challenging for him to bounce back. Well, with the retirement in Austria now making up 60 points with a car that's only competitive on certain tracks and is definitely far behind the McLaren, makes you think that maybe Max's chances are completely over in this 2025. And yes, I know what many are going to say right now. You can't count out a driver like Max Verstappen, and I know that. But Formula One isn't just about the driver. It's about the cars, and no matter how skilled Max is, if the car doesn't support him, like it's been in most of the races so far, it's very hard to believe that he'll be able to turn the championship around and win his 5th title in this 2025. On top of that, there are a lot of rumors within Red Bull that Max could leave for Mercedes in 2026 if certain conditions end up happening. There are even rumors saying that Max Verstappen would only stay at Red Bull if Christian Horner leaves the team or loses power within it. And Red Bull knows how difficult their life would be from now on if they end up losing the 4-time champion. Red Bull introduced updates in Austria, with the rest of the package expected for Silverstone. On paper, this track suits the RB21 well, with its fast corners and few slow turns. High temperatures like those in Austria are not expected. But despite these strengths, it doesn't seem to be enough to beat the McLarens under normal conditions. But they should definitely have a better weekend than they did at their home race. What is certain at this point is that if they don't want the internal tension bomb to explode, they'd better do so. That, at least, as usual, Max Verstappen comes away with a good result from the British circuit. Or could it be that the internal situation in this team starts to get really tense from the next races on? Williams now has a new problem to worry about, and that's a reliability issue that has been very punishing for them for quite a few races now. It's a cooling problem that the team itself has admitted doesn't have an easy solution, much less a quick one. So, at this point, all they can do is at least try to manage this problem and make sure it doesn't affect them too much. The lack of reliability has prevented them from capitalizing on chances to score points in recent races, and their rivals keep getting dangerously close to their position. According to what I learned from some people, Williams still has an upgrade package in development to introduce, probably at one of the upcoming Grands Prix this season. From Silverstone circuit to Spa-Francorchamps, this track has characteristics that benefit the car. But seeing their recent problems and the fact that it seems they won't have short-term solutions for all the mess they're going through, that 5th place in the constructors' standings might be much harder to defend than it seemed at first glance. If there's something Haas can highlight, it's that even though their competitive level might be far behind other midfield rivals, their consistency in scoring points in recent races has been remarkable. The thing is, this consistency won't be as effective, considering that now it even seems like Sauber has a more competitive car than they do. They need updates, and it's not really known for sure if they'll bring any package for this Grand Prix, considering that it's close to their factory. But they really needed to stay in the fight for that 5th place in the Constructors' Championship. Because the way they're doing it now, it's going to be pretty tough if they score 1 point and their rivals score 5, 6 or 10. Last week we were just talking about how Lawson needed to improve little by little to gradually eliminate the shadows of a possible replacement. He was the top Red Bull driver in Austria, finishing in 6th place. That will definitely be a huge morale boost for him, which he will have to take advantage of to keep improving constantly and shake off the shadows of everything that happened to him at the beginning of the season. For this Grand Prix, Racing Bull is expected to score points again, and if Hudyard and Lawson are in good shape, At this moment, they seem to be the strongest and most direct threat that Williams has for that 5th place in the Constructors' Championship. Aston Martin's hopes of finishing the year in a better way rest almost entirely on the next upgrade package, which will give them that performance boost they've been looking for. Rumors suggest the package could arrive in the upcoming races. This package is crucial for Aston Martin to compete, especially at Silverstone. A better result in this 2025 if all these plans they've been making actually work. So if they don't bring anything, points will be hard to get. Unless, as has become usual, one of their 2 drivers manages a great qualifying and they get the strategy right. In terms of pace, they lag behind their rivals. But hope still exists for the Aston Martin team to finish better than 8th place in the Constructors' standings. Sauber has confirmed that they've come to stay in the midfield group and that their step forward is a reality, which gives optimism for when the Audi era begins. That it's not a disaster as many people had been predicting, although it's still quite early to say. Sauber aims to repeat their success and secure valuable points in this competition, taking advantage of the fact that their package works quite well and that with each race they gain a better understanding and comprehension of that package. So the goal is clear. And now, Sauber definitely has enough weapons to fight for points, and with that, try to achieve better results from these races onward. Alpine's situation appears bleak with no end in sight. This is due to all the problems they're suffering internally, plus the lack of power and the few updates they'll have left during this season, which suggests that it's going to be very difficult for Alpine to get out of that last place in the constructors' standings. Pierre Gasly and Briatore commented that they don't expect updates soon and that the car's race pace is completely disastrous. And that no matter how well they qualify, keeping their positions usually seems like a completely impossible mission. Their focus is to understand the duality of pace, as they sometimes qualify well but fall apart in the race. But the truth is that things don't look good at all for the French team at Silverstone, and they're desperately hoping that 2026 starts as soon as possible. As for the weather, things could get interesting this weekend if the rain forecast keeps increasing over the next few days. Since, as of the date we're recording this video, there's a threat of rain showing up on both Saturday and Sunday. At the moment, Saturday's session only has a 20% chance, but on Sunday it goes up to 45%. Although, obviously things could increase or decrease as the days go by. But for now, the threat is still there and low temperatures are expected, ranging between 18 and 21 degrees, but with the threat of rain present. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have to prepare for a race that, with a bit of luck and the cold weather, could give us a pretty wild race. Finally, to conclude this preview, let's delve into the historical facts about this Grand Prix and the circuit itself, so you can take some trivia home with you from this competition weekend. The British Grand Prix, along with the Italian Grand Prix, are the only Grands Prix that have been part of every Formula One season since 1950. In fact, as we've mentioned many times, this circuit, which used to be a World War II airfield and was redesigned in 1947 to become a racing circuit. It was the one that saw the complete birth of Formula One with its first Grand Prix won by Nino Farina, who is also the first winner in the history of this competition. And Silverstone has been the home of this Grand Prix the most times. Specifically, it has been the home of the United Kingdom Grand Prix 56 times. But this competition has also been hosted by the Aintree circuit in the years 1955, 57, 59, 61 and 62. Meanwhile, Brands Hatch had the honor of hosting this competition from 1964 to 1986, although alternating with the Silverstone circuit. Great Britain has so far seen a huge number of drivers in Formula One. They've had multiple world champions including Jenson Button, Graham Hill, Jim Clark, Lewis Hamilton, Nigel Mansell and James Hunt, being practically the home of multiple world champions throughout the history of this competition. The fastest race lap in the history of the Grand Circus at this circuit is held by Max Verstappen, clocking a blistering 127.97 in his RB16 in 2020. The most successful team in the history of this Grand Prix is Scuderia Ferrari with 18 victories from 1951 to 2022. And the podium of all-time top winners is tied with 6 victories each, Jim Clark and Alain Prost. But the all-time top winner by far and alone is Lewis Hamilton, who has 9 victories at this circuit, achieved from 2008 to 2024. being the sole king in his homeland. And with that, we conclude today's historical facts. And with that, we conclude the preview of the 2025 British Grand Prix of Formula One. But this is where I ask you, which of the McLaren drivers do you think will be stronger on this circuit? Norris racing at home or Piastri wanting to give his teammate a psychological blow? Do you think anyone can stop McLaren at their home circuit? And of course, let me know your top 3. Who do you think will be the 3 drivers on the podium at the end of this Sunday's British Grand Prix? Let me know all your opinions in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. Goodbye. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so you know when I'm uploading a new video, and share this with your friends. Also, I invite you to follow us on our Instagram and Twitter accounts. The links will be in the description of this video, and I'll see you this Sunday, for the recap at the end of the test at the Silverstone circuit. Thank you for tuning in, and see you later.